You know, usually when we talk about a medical diagnosis, there is this expectation of just absolute precision.
Right.
Like, you break your arm, the x-ray shows a jagged white line, and the doctor just points to it and says, there it is.
It's binary, broken or not broken.
Exactly. But you step into the world of modern career planning right now, and suddenly that x-ray machine is just totally broken. We are looking at a professional landscape that is, well, it's incredibly murky. You're holding a map, but the roads are basically changing while you're trying to read it.
Oh, it is the absolute definition of diagnostic muddy waters. I mean, the old markers of success, the predictable corporate ladder, the static job titles you could just plug into a search engine, they are dissolving.
Yeah.
And naturally, that creates a tremendous amount of anxiety. People hear phrases like AI and automation, and their brains just immediately default to obsolescence.
They picture like a server farm somewhere quietly replacing their entire department.
Yes.
And, that anxiety is exactly why today we are building a blueprint to help you future-proof your career. We are jumping into a really fantastic stack of articles from the July 2026 edition of the Your Career, Your Future newsletter, which is published by the Career Experts Group.
A really comprehensive edition, too.
It really is. And the entire mission for this deep dive is redefining career success on your own terms, specifically in this AI-driven landscape. Because whether you are actively hunting for a job or you just want to secure your current trajectory, you need a new game plan.
Right. And the first step in that game plan is realizing where the ground is actually shifting. Because the reality is actually the exact opposite of what most people fear.
How so?
Well, we aren't just seeing job loss.
Yeah.
We are actually in a moment of massive, unprecedented career expansion. It's just a quiet revolution.
Okay, so a quiet revolution. Let's unpack this, because I think people really fixate on the roles that might be automated away.
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
We focus on what's disappearing, and we completely ignore the massive, sprawling industries that are exploding specifically because of these new technologies. If you look at Denise Bittler's analysis in this newsletter, the piece is titled Follow the Growth. She highlights these sectors that are just booming.
Like digital health and climate tech, right?
Yes. Digital health, advanced manufacturing, 3G printing, climate tech, clean energy, logistics. These ecosystems are growing exponentially. And the thing is, they are utterly starved for human talent.
Starved to human talent. But the catch is that the jobs in these sectors, they don't look anything like the jobs of a decade ago, do they?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Bittler actually breaks down the new job market into 3 specific types of roles that are being created right now. So first you have the core roles.
So builders.
Right. These are the people actually building the tech, the machine learning architects, the software engineers, the folks designing the AI models.
And I think that's where people panic, because the trap is assuming you have to be one of those core builders to survive in the modern economy.
Exactly. And you absolutely don't. That is literally just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
Because the second category is what she calls adjacent roles.
Adjacent roles.
Yeah. These are the professionals who basically translate those complex technological solutions into actual measurable business value. They are the critical bridge between the machine and the human workforce.
Okay, wait, let's put a pin in that, because I really want to make sure we understand what an adjacent role looks like in practice. Let's say a hospital buys a massive new AI patient intake system.
Okay, great example.
So the core role built it, right? But the hospital actually needs someone to integrate it. They need someone who understands how the nursing staff actually operates day to day. Someone who can train the team, design the workflow, and, measure whether the AI is actually saving time or just confusing everybody.
Yes, that is a perfect example of an adjacent role.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to know how to code the AI to do that job at all. You need to know how to manage human behavior and business operations around the AI.
Right.
And then you have the third category, which are the supporting roles. These are the folks keeping the entire ecosystem running safely.
So like compliance and HR?
Exactly. We are talking about compliance officers making sure that the new hospital AI doesn't violate any data privacy laws. We're talking specialized HR teams, logistics managers, tech ethicists.
Wow. Okay, so if you take nothing else away from this part of our deep dive, remember that searching for these jobs requires an entirely new vocabulary. Because if I am that person managing the hospital integration and I go onto a job board today and search for my old title, like let's say senior project manager, I'm going to miss almost all of these new opportunities.
Every single one of them.
It is like using a 10-year-old physical paper map to navigate a newly built smart city. The coordinates are just totally wrong. Bitler points out that you have to search by keywords instead.
Right, words like workflow or customer adoption, implementation, or even AI product specialist. Because the language of work has fundamentally shifted from static titles to these dynamic functions.
Yeah.
But this is where I think people freeze up, right? They see a title like AI implementation specialist, and they instantly assume they need a completely new degree in computer science to even apply.
I know, it sounds intimidating.
It really does. So if the old titles are dead, how do you actually pivot your resume without feeling like you have to go back to school for a completely new degree or just feeling like a total imposter?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, the mechanism behind that pivot is translation. It is not reinvention.
Translation, not reinvention.
Exactly. The fundamental skills you have spent years building, like guiding teams through chaotic changes, managing difficult stakeholders, keeping complex timelines on track, those are the exact skills these tech companies desperately need right now. Because engineers often really struggle with human adoption.
That makes a lot of sense.
So you just have to update your materials to speak to business outcomes rather than just listing out your past tasks.
So instead of saying, managed a team of 10 people using Agile methodology, you would say something like, drove a 20% increase in customer adoption for a new software tool by redesigning the internal workflow.
Yes, that is perfect. You are taking the exact same experience, but you are framing it around the result instead of the process. And then you just pair that translation with some highly targeted upskilling.
Just to bridge the gap.
Right. You might just need to close a few minor knowledge gaps over, say, a 6 to 12-month timeline. Maybe you take a short course in basic data literacy so you can confidently read an analytics dashboard, or you get certified in one specific new platform.
So it's basically layering a thin veneer of new tech-fluent vocabulary on top of a massive, solid foundation of human-centric skills.
That's exactly what it is.
Okay, that makes total sense for identifying the role and updating the resume. But there is a massive roadblock once you actually try to get noticed by the people hiring for these ecosystems.
Yeah.
We really have to talk about visibility.
Oh, yes. LinkedIn.
Yes, specifically LinkedIn. Because according to Gene Stoner and Richard Vanderblom's recent 2025-2026 algorithm report in the newsletter, the underlying physics of professional visibility have completely changed.
It is wild. The drop-off has been incredibly dramatic. You have these seasoned professionals logging in, posting the exact same way they always have, and their engagement has essentially just evaporated overnight.
Gone.
Completely gone. The report notes that average organic feed impressions have dropped by up to 50% over the past year. 50%. Half of your audience is just gone.
And the reason why is so fascinating to me, the platform fundamentally rebuilt its entire architecture. I mean, for years, LinkedIn was built on what they call a social graph. Visibility was driven by who you knew.
Right, your direct connections.
Yeah, the size of your network. If you posted something, the algorithm just pushed it out to your connections. It was purely a numbers game.
And that old model basically rewarded broad, high-frequency posting on almost any topic. You could post about anything and get eyes on it. But the new model is built entirely on an interest graph.
An interest graph.
Yes, the algorithm no longer cares primarily about who you know. It is relentlessly scanning for what you are known for.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me. It went from being basically a high school popularity contest where whoever has the most friends gets the most attention to being this highly curated global library index.
That's a great way to put it.
It is categorizing you by your specific topic, and it's using completely different metrics to decide if you are actually an expert. It's no longer about follower counts or sheer volume of likes. LinkedIn is now measuring dwell time.
Dwell time is the critical mechanism to understand here. The algorithm literally tracks the physical behavior of the user. Like, how long did someone stop their scroll to look at your post? Did they physically click the See More button to expand the text?
Right.
Are they saving the post to read later? Are there deep, meaningful comment threads happening below the post? The AI is evaluating all of these micro-interactions to score your topical expertise.
Think of the algorithm as a relentless digital librarian. When you post something, this librarian scans it instantly. It looks at the words you used and cross-references that with the metadata on your profile.
Yes.
And if it decides your post is highly valuable for a specific niche, it basically runs down the aisles of this massive global library and places your post directly on the desks of professionals interested in that exact topic, even if you have zero mutual connections with them.
Which is amazing for visibility.
Yeah.
But that librarian can only categorize you if your metadata is perfectly clear. And that changes the entire strategy of how you optimize your profile.
It all starts with the headline, right?
Exactly. The most important piece of real estate you have is your headline. It acts as the foundational metadata for the algorithm. You cannot just write project manager anymore. You have to answer 3 explicit questions. Who are you? What do you do? And who do you help?
So project manager becomes something like workflow specialist, helping healthcare tech startups scale AI implementation and drive user adoption.
Exactly. Now, the librarian knows exactly what shelf to put you on. And Stoner also points out that your top skills listed on your profile need to perfectly align with that new headline.
Right.
And crucially, you have to stop just clicking the like button on other people's posts.
Oh, yeah, the passive liking.
The algorithm basically ignores passive likes now. It wants to see you leaving meaningful 2 to 3 sentence comments that actually add some nuance to a discussion.
Okay, I have to jump in here because I can just hear a collective sigh of exhaustion from the audience right now. I mean, for the average professional who already has a demanding full-time job, it feels like they suddenly have to become a viral content creator just to secure a job interview. It sounds completely exhausting.
I get that. But what is really fascinating here is that the algorithm actually actively suppresses viral chasing content now.
Wait, really?
Yes. It does not want you to be a broad, generalist influencer.
Yeah.
It actively rewards deep, niche authority. So you don't need to post every day to a massive audience. In fact, doing that will probably hurt your reach.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You just need to focus on 2 or 3 core topics and consistently share insights that reach a targeted global niche. It is vastly more effective to be highly relevant to 50 decision makers than to be mildly entertaining to a million random scrollers.
That is actually a huge relief. So the machinery of the interest graph is scanning us, looking for that niche expertise. But that librarian mechanism only works if you give it a very clear, consistent story to index.
Exactly.
Which means we need to look at what story your profile is actually telling. Jacqueline Peros and Laura Johnson both have these really compelling features in the newsletter detailing how AI tools are now scanning our entire digital footprints long before a human recruiter ever even schedules an interview.
Right, because the traditional cover letter is no longer your primary introduction. Your brand is basically the aggregate experience, reputation, and digital narrative that exists about you online.
It's everything.
It is. AI screening tools are evaluating your communication styles, they're analyzing your thought leadership, and they're scanning your public online activity to assess your credibility and your alignment with a company's culture. They are constantly checking for consistency.
They want to see if the highly polished story you tell in your resume actually matches the digital footprint you leave behind on the internet. And Laura Johnson makes a brilliant point here. She says many professionals assume they should be known simply for their job title. But a job title rarely explains the unique value you actually bring to a room.
Right, it's too generic.
It is like search engine optimization for a website. If a homepage is stuffed with 50 random generic keywords, Google just buries it. It doesn't know what the site is actually for. But if it focuses on one highly specific solution, it ranks #1. If you try to be a Swiss Army knife, you're known for nothing. You want to be known as the scalpel.
I love that analogy.
But let me ask you this. It is so easy to just say, be known for something. But how do you actually identify your core brand without just drinking your own Kool-Aid and imagining you're great at everything?
It's so true. The challenge is that we are notoriously terrible judges of our own unique value. The things we are naturally best at often feel so easy to us that we just discount them. We assume everyone can do them.
Right.
So if you're trying to identify your core brand by just looking inward, you often end up with these incredibly generic buzzwords.
Like I'm a team player or I'm detail-oriented.
Exactly. Which is exactly the kind of noise the algorithm ignores completely. So Johnson recommends a highly practical DIY exercise. You don't look inward, you look backward. You review the last 5 years of your career and you look for hard historical evidence of your value.
Historical patterns.
Right. You ask yourself, what specific recurring problems do colleagues consistently come to me to solve? What compliments do I receive repeatedly from clients? What kind of work actually gives me energy rather than just draining me by Friday afternoon?
So you are hunting for those historical patterns. Like if you look back and realize, hey, in my last 3 roles, I was always the person the executives called in to mediate disputes between the engineering team and the marketing team.
Yes.
Then your brand isn't just good communicator. Your brand is the cross-functional mediator who breaks down silos between technical and creative teams.
Exactly. And that is a highly indexable, highly valuable personal brand.
So once you identify that specific pattern, Pero suggests a really critical next step. You have to audit your digital presence to see if the internet actually agrees with your assessment. And the most effective way to do this is to literally just Google yourself.
But you have to do it right.
Right, you have to do it in incognito mode or completely logged out of your browser.
That is a crucial technical detail. Because if you are logged into your Google account, the search engine biases the results based on your own past browsing history.
Yeah.
So you think your online presence looks incredibly professional, but you're essentially just looking in a customized mirror.
Right, it's feeding you what you want to see.
Exactly. Incognito mode strips away that bias and shows you the raw, unfiltered results. It shows you exactly what the recruiter's AI tool is going to see.
And if you find a gap between the brand you want to have, like that cross-functional mediator, and what the search results actually show, you have to practice intentional visibility to close that gap.
Yes.
Peros advises committing to sharing just one piece of value-driven content week, just one. Share a lesson learned, an observation about a workflow, maybe a solution to a common industry problem. You slowly, deliberately build the metadata that proves your reputation.
You are literally feeding the interest graph exactly what it needs to categorize you correctly.
So, okay, you have optimized your online presence. The digital librarian knows exactly what shelf to put you on. The natural next step is going on the offensive, right? Actively applying for these new emerging roles. But right now, the offensive game is completely broken. AI has made it incredibly dangerous for the average job seeker. Elise Pipitone's article dives deep into the modern application process, which has basically devolved into this phenomenon known as doom jobbing.
Yeah, doom jobbing, also known as spraying and praying. I mean, AI hasn't just transformed the types of jobs available. It has drastically lowered the friction required to apply for them.
The bar is on the floor.
It is. We are seeing an overwhelming volume of low-effort applications just flooding the market.
There is a Monster.com report in the newsletter that illustrates just how bad this has gotten. Listen to this. 48% of job seekers admit they apply without even reading the full job description. And 32% spend less than a single minute glancing at the posting before hitting apply.
It's wild. But people are doing this out of sheer desperation. They mistakenly believe that job hunting in an AI world is purely a numbers game. If the odds are low, they think they just need to increase the volume of applications. But they aren't just competing against other desperate humans anymore. They're competing against automated AI application bots that can blast out thousands of generic resumes to postings across the globe in a matter of seconds.
So what does this all mean? Using the Easy Apply button on a job board right now is basically the equivalent of swiping right on every single profile on a dating app without even looking at the pictures.
That's exactly what it is.
You aren't showing genuine interest, you're just creating noise. And the dating app's algorithm quickly figures out what you're doing and starts treating you like a spam bot. It hides your profile. And the job boards do the exact same thing.
They absolutely do. The fundamental flaw in the spray and pray method is treating the applicant tracking system, the ATS, like a human being who might be swayed by a really passionate cover letter.
Right.
The ATS is essentially a bouncer at an incredibly exclusive club. But this bouncer has no intuition, no empathy, and a very strict list of approved zip codes. If your ID doesn't have the exact zip code on the VIP list, you do not get in, even if you are wildly qualified.
And those zip codes are the must-have keywords listed in the job description.
Yes. And modern ATS platforms don't just look for isolated keywords anymore. They use semantic matching. They evaluate the context.
So if the job description requires cross-functional team leadership in software deployments, simply having the words leadership and software randomly scattered in different bullet points on your resume won't trigger a match anymore.
Exactly. The AI understands the grammatical relationship between the words. It knows you didn't actually do the specific thing they're asking for.
But this raises such a huge question. If we are competing against AI bots that can send out thousands of resumes a minute and ATS bouncers that are analyzing semantic relationships, shouldn't human applicants just play the numbers game to keep their heads above water? How does a human actually win?
Well, this raises an important point. If you try to play a boss game competing on volume and speed, you will experience a guaranteed loss. The machine will always outspam you.
Right, you can't beat the machine at being a machine.
Exactly. A human applicant's only competitive advantage in an automated ecosystem is intentionality. Pipitone outlines a highly strategic approach where quality drastically outperforms quantity. You basically have to bypass the automated traffic jam entirely.
Okay, how?
First, you slow down and you actually read the job description. You pay clinical attention to the must-have language. Before you apply, your customized resume needs to reflect at least a 75% match with the qualifications and skills in that specific posting.
And remember, that includes those transferable skills we discussed earlier. You are translating your past outcomes to match their current needs.
Right. Second, never use the easy apply button. It just lumps you in with the bots. Go directly to the company's actual website to submit your application. It demonstrates a baseline level of genuine interest and effort that bots rarely replicate.
That makes a lot of sense.
And third, leverage the human network.
Yeah.
If you have spent the time curating a clear digital reputation, use it. Connect with someone inside the company. An intentional, tailored application backed by an internal employee referral acts like a backstage pass.
It just completely bypasses the AI screening bouncer at the front door.
Completely. The machine cannot replicate human vouching.
You know, it is really about fundamentally changing your relationship with the job market. Career independence in this era isn't about reacting to whatever the algorithm happens to throw at you.
Yeah.
It is about understanding the mechanics of the system.
Yes.
We know we need to look beyond the old titles to find the hidden AI-adjacent growth ecosystems. We know we must align our metadata with LinkedIn's interest graph by sharing deep niche expertise rather than just making viral noise.
Right.
We know how to curate a laser-focused digital reputation by auditing our historical patterns. And when it comes time to apply, we use absolute precision, tailoring our semantic keywords and leveraging human networks to step right past the bots.
It is a profound shift from passive participation to the active architectural design of your own professional life. You're taking control of the variables you can actually influence.
You really are. But I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over, building on the mechanics we've unpacked today. Right now, as we discussed, AI tools are actively scanning our digital footprints, our dwell times, our specific expertise, our metadata to assess our credibility for jobs that currently exist.
Right.
But if the interest graph is getting this sophisticated at understanding exactly what we do best, what happens in the near future? What happens when AI starts actively designing bespoke, customized roles based entirely on predictive models of our online habits and historical strengths?
Wow.
Are we currently scrambling to prepare for jobs that don't exist yet? Or is AI quietly preparing to create jobs specifically tailored just for us? Next time you log in to update your profile, ask yourself who or what is actually drawing the map.